Welcome! In this explainer, we're jumping right into one of the most daring and dramatic episodes in India's freedom struggle, the Chittagong Armoury Raid. It was a plan to basically paralyze the entire British administration in one single coordinated strike, absolutely audacious.
So you really have to understand the philosophy behind this whole thing to get it. These revolutionaries, they weren't naive. They knew this one act wasn't going to free the country overnight. No, for them, it was all about the incredible power of sacrifice. The idea was that their ultimate price would be the spark that awakens an entire nation to fight for its freedom.
Okay, so here's our game plan for unpacking this incredible story. We'll kick things off with the big idea behind it all. Get to know the mastermind, Masterda, meet his revolutionary crew, dig into their master plan, and then, of course, cover the raid itself and what happened next.
So where did this idea of a glorious sacrifice even come from? Well, it wasn't dreamed up out of thin air. It actually had a really powerful, really recent inspiration from halfway around the globe.
You see, the leader, Surya Sen, was absolutely fascinated by Ireland's 1916 Easter Rising. And if you think about it, the parallels are striking, right? A small band of rebels takes over a major city from, you guessed it, the British. Now that rebellion in Ireland, it was crushed in about a week. But, and this is the key part, their sacrifice completely galvanized the Irish people. Sen thought, hey, we can do that here. He believed a similar bold move in Chittagong could send the same kind of shockwave through the British Raj and really light a fire under India's own freedom struggle.
All right, let's zoom in on the man who orchestrated this whole thing, Surya Sen. He was a humble schoolteacher, but everyone, and I mean everyone, called him Masterda out of respect.
Okay, so looking at his life, you can see this really fascinating double act he's playing. On one hand, he's deep in the revolutionary world, joining the Anushilan Samiti back in college, a group that was all about using violence to kick the British out. But then, you see by 1918, he's also the president of the local Indian National Congress. That's a pretty mainstream political gig. And then, boom, 1926, he's thrown in prison for his revolutionary work. It seems like that time in jail really cemented his belief that, you know what, talk is not enough. An armed struggle was the only real path forward.
So, Masterda gets out of prison more determined than ever. How's he going to make this vision a reality? Well, he gathers a small, super dedicated group of followers and gives them a name that was, let's just say, very ambitious.
And you got to pay attention to the name they chose. It's not just the Indian Republican Army, it's the Indian Republican Army Chittagong branch. See that little detail? That wasn't just a label, it was a massive statement of intent. Surya Sen saw this as just the beginning, the very first spark. He was hoping that other branches would pop up all over the country, each one liberating its own city, its own region.
And this is the part that just blows my mind. The group that was going to take on the entire British Empire, it wasn't some huge army. We're talking about a small, close-knit crew of maybe 65 people. Many of them were just teenagers.
Of course, Masterda was the clear leader, the brain of the operation. But he had a core team of incredibly smart and loyal lieutenants. You had guys like Anand Singh and Ganesh Ghosh. And this is absolutely crucial, he had two amazing women on his team, Preeti Lata Wadadar and Kalpana Dutt. And let's be clear, they weren't just followers. They were leaders, key planners, and played a huge role in the whole operation from start to finish.
Okay, so we've got the people, we've got the idea. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty of the plan itself. Because their goal wasn't just a simple smash and grab at an armory. Oh no. The plan was to completely, and I mean completely, paralyze the British administration in Chittagong.
The plan itself was just brilliant in its simplicity and its scope. It was a three-pronged attack, all happening at the exact same time. First, hit the two main armories to get the weapons. Second, cut every single telephone and telegraph line to isolate the city completely. And third, tear up the railway tracks so no British reinforcements could get in. The idea was to create this little bubble, a liberated zone, even if it only lasted for a few days.
And so it happened. On the evening of April 18, 1930, the Indian Republican Army launched their plan. This was it. One of the boldest, most audacious attacks in the entire history of India's freedom struggle was underway. And at first, it was an unbelievable success. I mean, everything went off without a hitch, just like they'd planned. They captured both armories, the communication lines were down, the railway was destroyed, Chittagong was completely cut off from the rest of the world. And in this incredible moment of triumph, Surya Sen raises the Indian flag and declares a provisional revolutionary government. For that moment, a piece of India was well and truly free.
But, there's a but coming, right? In the middle of all this celebration, they suddenly realized they had made one single huge mistake. An oversight that was about to unravel everything.
So here it is, the fatal flaw. They had the guns, they had seized thousands of rifles, but they couldn't find the ammunition. Not a single bullet. Turns out, the British had a policy of storing the bullets in a totally separate magazine, as a precaution. Just think about that. One tiny detail they overlooked, and their entire brand new arsenal was completely useless. It's a perfect example of how the smallest oversight can totally sink a massive operation. So now what do? You're holding a bunch of useless rifles. They had no choice but to run. They retreated into the nearby Jalalabad Hills, where the British forces, now alerted and regrouping, were closing in fast. A fierce battle was inevitable.
What followed was a long, brutal manhunt. The main uprising was over in days, but Masterda himself, he was incredible. He managed to evade capture for nearly 3 whole years, waging a guerrilla war from the shadows. But eventually, his luck ran out. He was captured in 1933, horrifically tortured, and then finally hanged in January 1934.
And that brings us full circle, right back to where we started. If you look at it from a purely military perspective, the raid was a failure. They didn't hold the city. But the story of their bravery, the news that for a few days they had actually freed Chittagong, that story spread like wildfire. It sent shockwaves through the British Empire and inspired so many others to join the fight. So, I'll leave you with this question. How do you really measure the success of a revolution? Is it just about winning the battle, or is it about the spirit you ignite for the battles to come?